Good afternoon and happy Sunday from the Ayanna J. McAllister Legacy Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us today on Read Across America. You may not have known, but today is Dr. Seuss' birthday. And celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday, Read Across America was established. The point for it is to really celebrate literacy. You may not also know that literacy rates are directly connected to crime and violence in neighborhoods. So, especially for African American children and children of African descent, we want to make sure that we are doing everything as parents, grandparents, neighbors, friends, educators to make sure that our children have improved literacy. The love of books, the love of reading improves comprehension, enhances communication skills, and just makes us well-rounded people. One of the things I always loved about books as a child is it was a very good escape. To be able to read a book and lose myself in a book. So you're looking at an adult who loved reading as a child and actually still love to read today. So the Ayanna J. McAllister Legacy Foundation, because we do gun violence work, thought it would be most appropriate for us to put on an event, very short event, that will talk about gun violence a little bit, but more importantly, the literacy issues that we may have in our community and how we can address them as parents. Today, we have 3 authors, myself included, that are going to talk to you about our books. But before I go any further, let me bring up our esteemed MC, my friend and sister, and Ayanna J. McAllister Legacy Foundation board member, Marcy Trueheart. Ta-da!
Well, ta-da! Well, once again, you see us on Thursdays, but today we get to bring you something different. And we're always about improving the community. We're always about, if it's not your mental health, it's your intelligence. So we're always about that. And today we have 2 authors, well, 3 authors, forgive me. We have 3 authors that we're going to be able to hear their stories and why they chose to write this book. And let me tell you, it is going to be phenomenal. So hold on for a moment.
I will bring up Alicia Dalton.
Alicia Dalton.
Hey.
Hello.
And Joe Braxton, all my fellow children's book authors.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, so we're gonna Alicia, we're gonna start with you.
Okay.
We're gonna start with you. So we want you to tell us about your book, and also with that, can you start with the age range that this book is most appropriate for, and then tell us about your book.
Okay, so the age range is from about 4 years old to 12, but I always say that if an adult picks up the book, it's going to speak to them as well.
Okay, and what is your book about?
The book is about forgiveness. It's called The Forgiving Oak, and it's about a book that helps children understand the importance of forgiveness. And it's about an oak tree who finds himself having to forgive a squirrel that harmed him.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I love that.
Yes. And Joe, the age range, how you doing? And what is your book about?
So my book is actually a part of a kids book series called James and Candace. This third book is called James and Candace, Humanity Matters. The books are all for age ranges 6 through 11. But just like Alicia said, it's for anyone. Anyone can get a message from them. Humanity Matters is based on teaching kids what empathy is, what fairness is, and it's showing, we can be friends even with all our differences. So I wanted to write this book, to inspire more love in the world. So,
Oh, I love that. We can still be friends with our differences.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a powerful that age range, like for forgiveness and for yours to see how the best differences in us makes us even better. And Tyreese, you tell us what your age range is and the name of your book and what your book is about.
Okay, so my book is My Lollipop in Heaven, right here. And Is My Lollipop in Heaven is a book about, unfortunately, homicide. The age range it reaches is really from maybe 3 to 4 years old to maybe 6 or 7. And I wrote the book. Well, you didn't ask me why I wrote the book, but the book is
Not
about a
yet.
little girl a little girl who experiences homicide of her sister, and her family takes her to a group therapy session where she meets other children who've also experienced various kinds of losses. And at the end of the book, which I think is so great, is that they learn how to be able to grieve appropriately and continue to love their loved ones. And it's very difficult type of book, but very needed in our community, unfortunately, because children are experiencing an outrageous number of homicides in their young lives.
So I like what you said, to be able to learn how to grieve. That's key, because we don't. Period.
Yes,
We
adults
don't.
don't even know how to grieve. You're right.
We don't. And we're not gonna get into that. That's something different. That's something different. So we're gonna actually, I want to start with Joe with this question. What inspired you to write your books?
So I've always posted like inspirational messages, and people always said, "Joe, you should maybe write a book one day." And dealing with my own, stories and things like that, what I've dealt with growing up, I said, this world needs more empathy. This world needs more love. And I also thought, parents have to start teaching their kids, what empathy is, to teach them that there's differences in the world. People are going to be other kids are going to be different from them. And you have to learn how to understand, will you be willing to understand them? And it's just too much hatred in the world. And so I said, we have to put more positivity out in the future. So in this world, so not the future. So we can raise better human beings. So that's the reason why I wrote my books.
So, and with, once again, yours is about the loving of people. And Allison, what is yours about? I mean, we know, but what inspired Alicia?
So that's kind of a loaded question, so I'll try to make it short. But I never thought I would be an author at all. But a friend of mine said, there's a book in you. And I said, I don't think so, But I knew that God always told me I would tell my testimony, but I always thought it would be at church on Tuesday, Testimony Tuesday, right? But he inspired me to write the first book about forgiveness. And 3 books later, well, this is my third book, my first children's book. I thought, it would really be good for children to know and understand forgiveness early, because I know what forgiveness has done for me as an adult. And if you can only, just like Joe said, if we can teach our children empathy and forgiveness, it will make for a better world. We would be raising better children if they understood those principles. So that's why I wrote The Forgiving Oak.
Thank you. And it'll make for a better world.
Yes,
definitely.
And don't we need it?
Absolutely.
And Tyreese, so I'm going to ask you the same question.
I wrote Is My Lollipop in Heaven because in 2017, I lost my 18-year-old daughter to gun violence. And because I have a lot of children, younger children in my family, I started to look for a book to explain how this beautiful 18-year-old young lady in the family, love of the family, is no longer here. And I was really amazed that I could not find a book on homicide anywhere. And I'm a therapist. I know that children learn through social stories, so I thought it would be ideal. But when I could not find a book, God said, you will write the book. And I kind of like shrugged it off. And then I wrote a book that was really just for my family, just for the kids in my family. Um, and when I shared it with a friend who was an educator, she was like, "You got to publish this. This book is amazing." So I got a publishing company and a illustrator, and only God could have put it together. At the time, I was not. I actually was an author similar to Alicia. Didn't really think I would be writing a children's book. Even as a therapist, I don't even see children. And it's a special way to write a children's book. It's like it's not an easy. People would think because children are reading it, it's easy, but it's really not. But the book is needed. It was needed, and I was also inspired to write another book. So my children's book is My Lollipop in Heaven, and then I co-wrote another book, a caregiver guide to help adults who are dealing with children who lost someone, to also so they'll know how to work with the children. So if a child has died in a school shooting, it's different if a child has had a loss because a parent was killed in domestic violence, or a police shooting. And so the book addresses not only those types of homicides in the community, but the a caregiver guide also tells the adult caregiver how to deal with the child in each one of those. And that book is called Too Hard to Bite, but Not Too Hard to Lick. Get it? It goes with the kind of is My Lollipop in Heaven. So, but there it's a great pair for each other. So any adults having trouble, because this is not easy to talk to children about. It's not easy to explain, but there's a caregiver guide that goes with the book. You can purchase them separately, but it is really a good book for anybody who has to work with children on homicide, because it is a very adult conversation that you have to break down for children.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's an adult conversation that you have to break down to adults.
That's true.
And with everyone's book, it not only is it a children's book, but I would suggest that the adults read it and comprehend it, and then read it, and then send to the children. Because, like you said, even though it has an age range on it, I don't know how many of you have said this. I was today years old when I realized.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like all three of your books, if you sat down and read it and did it for yourself, you would say those words. I was today years old.
Yeah.
And we've already went through like the message of your book: forgiveness, loving others in their differences, and also discussing therapy, grief, and hurt. So those were the messages in your what I received. Mm-hmm. But I want to go to each one of you and ask, how important is it to have Black authors and seeing Black characters in your book? So who wants to tackle that question first?
I can. Oh, okay, go ahead, Joe. That's fine.
And especially, yes, even though I asked you to go first, but especially our Black male, our divine masculine. That is something that is so important. As I have a grandchild, and I have to make sure, especially in this climate, that he sees representation. So, okay, I'm sorry. That was my rant. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I mean, I guess it comes down to these days and times, our Black kids have to see Black people doing other things instead of what society is putting in their faces. So I guess a lot of them, they're not reading these days. So maybe this will help, inspire them, motivate them to on how to be better, people growing up. So I and also due to the banned book situation, we need to, be more, forceful in putting, more Black books out with Black characters, to show kids, that so they can see themselves in these situations or in these stories, and it'll inspire them, maybe on on being better people, or um, inspiring someone else to know that there's better out here in the world, instead of following the wrong crowds, instead of harboring pain or hurt, or instead of ostracizing, people just because they're different. So um, this will help. Like I think this will help, inspire Black kids to want to be better. But we just have to push them to read more. So yeah.
So one more
Okay.
question I have for you. Um, when it came down to your characters, where
Mhm.
did that inspiration come from?
So when I wrote this book, we were in the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, and dealing with all the the racism and things like that. So I wanted to create a book, that was anti-racist, that will teach kids the importance of empathy, um, and diversity and inclusion and things like that. So um, maybe your question slipped my mind. Sorry. Can you?
What made? How did you come up with your characters?
Okay, so I wanted to create a multicultural book so that um, it's called Humanity Matters. So it's about James, who's Black, Candace, who's white. Um, I wanted to show kids, different aspects of how you can come together no matter your differences. And it has, like, I have Hispanic characters, Black, white, in this book. And I just wanted to show people that if you stop teaching hate, your kids will grow to become good human beings that will show love instead of being anti-racist or anti LGBT or whatever. So I just wanted to, inspire um, love, and it's for parents to teach love instead of hate. So
Mhm.
Okay, Allison.
So, my book has animals in it.
Because it's the oak tree.
So, I wanted it to be a universal that could speak to any child,
Mhm.
about forgiveness and how you can take a situation that, I mean, the oak tree had a choice. He could have, you know, been mean, or, spoke mean or words after the squirrel harmed him, but he chose to use it as an opportunity to teach forgiveness and to spread love. So, one of the useful things I think in the book is, although it doesn't have any Black characters, it could speak to any child, but it also has scriptures in the back of the book to help, you know, cultivate a forgiveness walk. I tell people all the time that everybody has something to forgive. Whether it's the person who cut you off, on when you're driving, or the person that took cuts in the line at the grocery store. Like, you have to have a forgiveness walk every single day. It doesn't have to be the huge thing of something to forgive, but if you practice forgiveness on the small things, when the big things in life happen, you can kind of put it in perspective and say, you can have a choice. You can cuss the person out, or you can decide to, forgive them and spread love, as Joe has so eloquently talked about. So that is, you know, kind of the thrust or situation for the book. I wanted to speak to everyone, not just brown and Black children.
Okay.
It's
And what
forgiveness
I
for
want,
everybody.
so I actually wanted to also add, when we saying forgive, how we forgive everybody else, how about the forgiveness of ourselves?
Very
mhm.
true.
Because once we learn to forgive our inner core, it's
Hmm.
so much easier to forgive
That is true.
um, the people around you.
Hmm.
Um, you give them more grace because you've allowed yourself to stand in grace, then you are able to give other people more grace.
Yeah.
And the oak tree, because it stands so strong, the
That's
way
why
it stands
yeah.
so strong,
Yes.
And that inner core of the oak tree, and when you were talking, like that oak tree stands on business.
Yes.
So
Yes. And this character definitely stood on business, because he could
yeah.
have went down a different road, but the ending of the book is so beautiful, how the squirrel just changed her whole disposition on how she approached everything in the forest. So
That's beautiful, because that means the oak tree was the light.
yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
And he left
that's
a legacy.
beautiful.
He left a legacy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now that squirrel knows, hey, is going to teach their fellow squirrels,
Mm-hmm.
squirrelets.
Yeah. She actually spreads this to all the other animals in the forest. So
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
she
it's
was
like
a
you read it
movement.
already.
I mean, it was just the oak tree was talking to me when
Yeah.
you were talking. The oak tree was like, "This is what I'm doing." So basically, the oak tree was able to allow the squirrel to learn, and now the squirrel is doing a movement.
Yeah. I actually call it a forgiveness movement. So there you have it.
I read that. I read
You're
it in my
all in my
other life.
business. You're all in my business.
I read it in my other life. So Tyreese, now I've read your book. I got it. I have several of them, and can you tell us, like, everybody's book is very unique, but can you tell us how unique this book is, especially to you and the characters in each one of the characters in the book?
Yes. So this book was written, of course, out of my pain, and not have any experience of being a children's book author, and really how to develop characters. I utilize my daughter's friends as the characters in the book, which was really cute because one book show that we did, my daughter and the friends came, and so children who were coming to see us got a chance to meet the characters in the book, all grown up though, because it's not a true story, but it is a story about a loss. And so the lollipop was actually my daughter's nickname. And the main character is Deja, which is my oldest daughter. And the other characters, Nigel and Courtney, Michael and Malachi. Courtney and Nigel are Ayanna's friends, and Malachi and Michael are my godchildren. So the characters in the book are special to me too. But I do want to go back and answer the question about Black authors as well as Black characters. I'm a child of the 60s, and in the 60s, there were not a lot of books about Black children. Growing up, I never saw children of color in any of the books, starting with See Spot Run. Did y'all read that book? See Spot Run, Run Spot Run, or whatever it was. Even growing up. So to me, as a mom, as a new mom, I flooded my children's libraries with Black books. And it's not that similar to what Joe was saying, I think the multicultural is important because I think diversity, DEI, diversity is important. And I wanted my children to grow up in a world that is diverse. But I thought it was extremely important for my children to be able to see themselves in a book that was positive, that spoke life to them, to normalize their own experiences because their experiences are different. And while my book doesn't talk about something like eating grits, right? Like that is their experience growing up in the South, or going to the South to visit grandparents and eating food that is specific to our culture. Not just that it's a Black character, but that the books speak to who they are as people, and also positive. Unfortunately, the media gives us so much that is not positive about being of African descent, I think it's important that we have books that start our children off with not just seeing Black characters, but having Black experiences. And then the other thing that I thought was really important is that they see Black authors. I think that a lot of times we highlight, or what I found even when I was working in the elementary school system, is that children want to be a rap artist, or they want to be a basketball or football player. But I think there's so many other things that we don't expose children to. And a lot of times they can't see themselves because they don't see others. So me being a Black author, although that's not my first profession, like it's something I'm really, really proud of, and really honored to be able to say to a child that I have 5 books, right? That I'm an author. And that shows a child that you can do it. When I tell adults that I have books and 3 of them are on an Amazon bestseller, they're impressed. But I'm not saying it to impress anybody, but to impress upon children that you can do anything you put your mind to, or even if you don't put your mind to it, because I believe that my writing was inspired by God. Like, it's nothing I wanted to do. I never said I wanted to be an author. It was inspired by God. So even when God says you can do something and you don't want to do it, Marcy, that's a hint for you. But that you can, I had to do it, but you can do it. That you can do it. And while it might not be an easy thing to do, it's doable. And I think we have to keep giving our children those messages.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was important for me, just like you, to have that representation for my children, especially my girls. I'll think about all the books that I read, or all the books that we picked up about their hair, and while their crown is beautiful and they're fearfully and wonderfully made by God. I have a shelf in my home with just Black authors, people that I actually know, because I want them to see that. I was one of the main characters in a documentary. I did that for them so that they could be proud of and understand where they came from. So although when I did the documentary, it wasn't appropriate for them to look at it, but when they became teenagers, I actually let them view the documentary so they could understand Black experiences. It's completely off topic, but it was still important for them to understand what trauma is and how you can overcome trauma through faith and using God and understanding scripture and being in the word. But you stole my word. It sounds cliche-ish, but representation does matter. And I've always tried to put my girls and my son in front of something that they could relate to culturally, and so they could understand how important their existence is on this earth.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what I love about it, Joe, I'm gonna come to you next. But what I love about it is, like I said, with my grandson, I'm conscious about it more so. And I love how his parents, they have his little bookshelf, and yes, they're Black authors. They're 99.9% Black authors, and it shows him because he has a huge afro. And and I saw one of the books, and it was something about the hair, and just skimming through some of the books, but instilling that. So as the 3 of you are authors, how, like the oak tree taught the squirrel, you 3 and all of our Black authors, and all the authors that are instilling greatness into our children. But today we're talking about the Black authors because it's still Black History Month, because it's every month, every day. Okay, off subject. But you're instilling legacy. You're instilling how this is the way, this is normal. Like Tyreese,
Yes.
you say you have 5 books. When you say you have how many? 3?
Yes. 3. Yep. 3 and 2 bestsellers. So
okay, so you have 3 books, 2 bestsellers. Joe, you have what? A series and
3 kids books. My first book was a testimonial, and then I have a healing journal and 2 ebooks. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not doing public math, but that's a lot. So, but the thing about it is, and we're just talking about the three of you, but all the Black authors, how you're pouring into our children, and you're letting them know that they are Black excellence. Okay, I'm sorry, that was my tangent. Really, really quick. So, Joe, we're gonna did your the question. How important is to have Black authors? Did I ask you that?
Yep.
You did. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry. I am sorry. So, what's next? Allison, what's next?
Oh, goodness. I don't want to say it out loud.
Okay. So, guess what? You're manifesting your next.
Yes.
And that's
wait for it. We'll just have to wait for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think what's next is my granddaughter read the book and she said, she calls me Lily because I refuse to be called grandma. So she calls me Lily. She said, Lily, this could be a series. And I said, oh, goodness gracious. I thought I was done. So it could turn into a series. But I do have our family cookbook in draft form, and it's been in draft form for way too many years, but I have pulled it back out and I started working on that. So we'll see.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about just a moment. So I don't know how to cook at all. Will I be able to follow this and not make anybody sick, especially myself?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And tell would you try some of the recipes I cooked? Did she loves me?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Joe, what's next?
So my illustrator actually lives in Ukraine, who illustrated all my kids' books, and they're at war right now. So my fourth kids' book is actually half illustrated, and due to the war, she wasn't able to finish it. So I told her I'll wait around, for her, because I want her to finish. I want to use the same character design, so I'll wait until it's supposed to have been out, a couple of years ago, but I'll wait until the war's over. Hopefully, she can finish it. So, but I used to be a mail carrier, and so I wrote a kids book, in reference about the post office, so to give the kids a little understanding of how the post office works, because they really don't know. We have to go pull our own mail. We have to case it and load the truck. So a lot of people just think you just go. And I wanted to create like this fun fictional fantasy book for the kids to give them an idea of the post office. But right now, I'm currently promoting my healing journal, but I've been mainly doing now my new healing journal here. That's what I've been focusing on. So I finally got that out. So that's what I'm doing
nice.
now.
Congratulations. I love to teach
And
children.
we need healing right now. We so need healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, just like Joe, I'm also still promoting my other two books because I really believe, like I talked about the forgiveness movement. In the middle of writing that book, God gave me a title. I could have never come up with the title, but it's I Can't Keep Calm. He gave me Beauty for Ashes, and it's my memoir. And so I'm still promoting those two because I just want to inspire people, and I want to, teach people not to lose hope. That God can do a thing suddenly, and that's what He's done in my life. And I want to continue to inspire women and people all over the world really about love and forgiveness and hope. So that's really my platform. So even though the children's book came out 2 weeks ago, I'm still wanting to show up in rooms with those two books as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because once more and again, we're going to go back to the adults. When you heal the adult, it's easier for the child to do their healing journey. And don't feel left out, Joe. But as women, because we carry so much trauma, and once more again, when we heal ourselves, when we forgive ourselves, when we start doing the self-care, self-love, and loving us, we hand it down to our daughters. our
Yes.
nieces, our grandchildren, our
Mhm.
neighborhood children. And then they can see how women of virtue and valor and healing women walk, and how we deliver our messages.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful thing. So
You know,
Terry,
you bring up trauma. I want to just, since we have a platform here, the documentary that I mentioned before just got selected to run on documentary.com for a full year. So if there's anyone seeking a good documentary about trauma, faith, and healing, it's an amazing documentary to view. And again, it's on documentary.com. And if anyone follows me on Instagram, they'll be able to see a clip of it and access the link to watch it.
now I'm sorry, did you say the name of the documentary?
It's called Women of Faith Coping with Trauma.
Okay, all righty.
Yeah.
All right. So Tyreese,
Yes.
the question is, what's next?
Well, it's not any books. It's not, unless of course God says so, because none of these books were my idea. But right now I'm just gonna try to keep working on my best friend and inspiring her to write her book.
Wow.
That would be Marcy.
That's in your face right there.
I'm joking, but not joking. I'm joking, but not joking. Really what's next for me is, the work of the foundation. And I just want to thank you guys too for coming on, because again, God does his thing. When God does his thing, he does his thing. And I'm unapologetic about being God's girl and just listening to what God says, because I was going to have another author on here and the spirit was like, no, this is good. And both of what your books are about speaks to even the gun violence, right? Like if we can forgive people, then we don't have to harm them, right? And if we can learn to have some empathy, which is what I teach in my day job, about having empathy and empathizing with people, then it won't be a need for gun violence, and we wouldn't need my book. And so I really work with the foundation so that this book is really could be like a fairy tale when we used to have guns in America. But things are changing, and I think more than ever, people need the work that we do. I'm also a trauma clinician, so I'm consistently trying to heal the land, heal the people, and heal the land. And that's what I'm going to do until God says do something else. So yeah, that's it. That's what's next for me. What's next for you, Marcy?
Need to write the book, so I have one book. I'm also a best-selling author. I'm part of an anthology, Healing Through Divorce, You're Not Alone. And once more and again, that was not in the plan. But the situation happened where, I'm divorced, and the hurt and the healing that came from that, it was, hey, we're doing an anthology. Would you like to be a part? And it was just like, God was like, yeah. And the title of my chapter is God Will Hurt Your Feelings to Protect Your Future.
Ooh, goodness.
And when I started the book, I was still so deep in my hurt. But as I kept rewriting the book, and it is a part where it says, my husband wasn't able to go with me where God wanted me to be. So, but working on my second book, and I'm slow, like the cookbook, I got chapters, but I'm, my procrastination, and I'm going to just say it, my procrastination sometimes takes over, but it's in the works. And another thing, working with the foundation, going out into the community, being a part of the community, as far as with the gun violence, and mental health. That's a huge part of the things that just so many things that Tyreese and I do together. But being a part of the community Because when we go out, a lot of times people stop us because they've seen us places. They see that we put in the work and the care into people. So that's a beautiful thing. And, just staying absolutely amazing. And that's it, you know, because like I said, I woke up even more amazing than I was yesterday. And who thought it could be even possible?
I love it.
But Tyreese, I want to ask you something. I want you to go a little bit more into depth about the foundation and just some of the things that we've done and some things that we're gonna do in the future.
Okay. Like I said, the in 2017, my 18-year-old daughter was killed. She was home from college on spring break. And immediately my husband and I knew we needed to do something. We had collected quite a bit of money. Um, you know how people of color do when somebody dies, they family and friends give you an envelope. But end of the by the end of the week, the first week, we had about $10,000 in envelopes, because in 2017, really girls weren't getting killed. We got envelopes from strangers, from organizations. My sorority, the Prince George's County chapter, gave us $1,300. I mean, like, people blessed us. But we also had insurance, so we did not need money to bury her from that pot. So my husband and I decided to, we were going to, like, just maybe make a scholarship, a one-time scholarship, help somebody go to school because she was not able to finish school. But before we buried her, within that week too, 5 other people had gotten shot in DC. So we knew we needed to do something else. And so that's where the Ayanna J. McAllister Legacy Foundation was born. And we've been doing the work. We have an amazing board, which Marcy is a part of. Jacqueline Coleman is our chairperson, co-chair now, but she chaired our board for a number of years and really helped us develop, and she's listening. So thank you. Shout out to Jackie, and shout out to Anthony McAllister, who is now the chair, my husband. We were just two parents in our grief, not wanting to be angry, forgiving the person who killed our kid, and not wanting to be angry, and wanted to channel all the issues, all the things that were going on, because there was a lot of emotions, into something positive. And so we created the foundation to address gun violence, and specifically in the Black community. As a therapist, having worked in the schools a little bit, I know that the literacy rate, jails are built on the literacy rate in our community, in Black community. So when the literacy rate is low, they start increase in third grade, mind you, third grade, because that determines that determines a lot for children. Will they be children involved in the criminal justice system? Will they be menaces in school? Will they be problem children? And so that's why literacy for me is very important, because there are lots of different things that we could recognize as it relates to gun violence, but literacy is where we can get it early, right? Like, if we recognize that our children need to be reading, they need to see Black authors, they need to develop a love for reading because it enhances communication, it increases their vocabulary, and it helps keep them out of trouble. They're able to comprehend. Their mind is able to expand when they are lovers of reading, because we can do any kind of activity. I mean, there's Mental Health Awareness Month coming up in May. September is Suicide Awareness Month. October's domestic violence. It's not that we don't do anything during those times. And June is Gun Violence Awareness Month. It's not that we don't do anything during those times, but literacy is something that we got to get behind. And it really allows us to get to the children before hopefully they even pick up a gun. If you have a book in your hand, it takes, most people don't read a book with one hand, right? They read a book holding a book with two hands. So if you have books in your hands, you don't have a gun in your hand, right? So it's books over bullets, which is what we call this episode. And so I just think it's very important. The foundation is doing other work. We do and usually in June. I think we're changing it this year, but usually in June, for the last 8 years, we've done a basketball tournament where For us, it's just positive recreation. We just have children coming out into to play basketball all day, literally all day. For us, for them, it's positive recreation and something to do. But we also have employers there where children can get jobs, because we know that when young people are doing something productive, they're also not menacing in the society. So we try to give children an opportunity. Marcy has been really instrumental in helping us get this together. Last year, we had the Maryland, University of Maryland football team come out and they did a workshop for students on how to become athletic scholars. That was amazing. So we're trying to expose kids to things. We go out and give out gun locks in communities where gun violence is high, because we know that people have guns in their home, and 9 times out of 10, they're not secured. And even though it might be a child in the home or somebody who has mental illness also in their home, or even if they have a poor coping skills themselves, or just a hothead, other words, they had, by the time you unlock the gun, then maybe you have cooled down and won't use the gun. So we do things like that. We have had a fashion show where we raise money. We give scholarships to children every single year. So while we started off thinking we were going to just give the $10,000 away, we've been giving close to $10,000 away each year. We have an amazing STEM program. One of our board members is Dr. Jennifer Smith. She headed up the forensic department in DC at one time. She's on our board, and we do a STEM program around forensic. So we teach high-risk children. So these are children who are in special education or alternative schools, and we teach them science, technology, engineering, and mathematics around forensics. So they learn DNA, they learn ballistics, but they're learning STEM, but in something that's already interesting to them, and exposing them to science. Like, it really is amazing. And we have an amazing partnership with Bowie State University science department. And we even had one of the children from the alternative school, an alternative school, enter into Bowie last year. So we're doing amazing work with the foundation. Shout out to our board members, because we don't have any paid staff. For 8 years, we've existed all on volunteers. And so we are hoping to grow and hopefully hire some staff, because I think our board members are probably tired. But we do some really amazing and cutting edge work in the community. And even this is different, right? Like, when we a organization that focuses on gun violence is doing some literacy work. So we're just trying to reach everybody where we can, so people can put the guns down.
Yeah.
And Tyreese, what I want to add to with the basketball game, what we also do, so we have vendors, but for our kidpreneurs, you get to come and vend for free. We allow children, I think, under the age of 15.
No, and under 18 and under. So even if you're 18,
okay,
you have a business, you can vend for free.
You can vend for free. So we want to make sure that we, as the foundation, the people that we can touch, community. Yeah, the community that we can touch, the impact that we have. I want to be like the oak tree. I want to be like the oak tree, and I want to be able to see everybody for their differences. Because the more we're different, we're more alike than we are different. So with those things, that's the foundation of the foundation. So those are just some of those, and that's actually just some of the things that we've done with the foundation, because I know we have partnered with so many people, and we are blessed when people was like, "Hey, let's sit down and talk." Because actually, Tyreese probably forgot, but tomorrow we have a meeting, and someone wants to sit down and do some partnership with us.
I did not forget. But you know what, the other thing we do, and Marcy chairs this committee. I'm sorry, I didn't have it written down, and I should have. But Marcy chairs this committee. Each Christmas, we collect toys from the community and our donors, and give it to children who have had a loss because of gun violence. So children who've lost a parent, one or more parent or both parents, or lost a sibling or a friend. And unfortunately, our list grows every year with the number of children. And so it's heartbreaking, but we want to just bring a little joy to where people may have lost their joy, because losing somebody to gun violence can be very hard. So just another project that we do.
And like I said, Jackie is on there, and I just want to give out a shout out to Jackie myself, because she's amazing. She's amazing, and she comes up with some of the greatest ideas. You be like, what? But when she executes it, it's like,
Yeah.
shout out to you, Jackie. But with that, now I know we kind of touched on like other projects that we had. Other projects that you had, but Joe, I know we're waiting for the young lady in Ukraine, and we're going to send out safety for her to come back so she can get the
Yes.
Look, we want the war to end so this book can be done.
Right.
Our very own selfish reason works for me.
And we send her light and love too.
Yeah,
we send her light and love, and not just her, but all the Ukrainians, who are in the war. Like, I think we've been really blessed to not have been in a war here in the U.S. For those of us who in the U.S. we haven't had a war, we've been blessed. But it might be coming. So just sending light and love to her.
So just really quick, is there any other projects you have, Joe?
I mean, not really at the moment right now. I mean, I do work in the experiential marketing field, which is deals with like marketing, and a lot of people do ask how to get in this field. I do have an ebook on that, so if you want, I can help promote that. But that's it.
Is that part of your link tree? Yeah. Is that in your link tree?
Yes, on the link tree.
Okay.
Yes, everything's there. Yeah.
Okay, great. What about you, Allison?
That's about it.
No, not just promoting and marketing at this time. All 3 books.
Okay, the cookbook that's on the way, the documentary, and the book that you have now.
Yeah, the thing with the cookbook is it's a family cookbook, so it's not just me. So that's what takes it.
Oh yeah. Okay, say less.
So yeah.
And Marcy, I'm gonna put some links in our chat, so anybody who's listening in or people who will join us even on the replay, there'll be some links and activities that you can print out for your children. That are some activities that go along with the Is My Lollipop in Heaven.
Okay, well, this has been absolutely it's informative for me. I love the book. I've read the book. I read your book in another lifetime because, Joe, I thank you because your book, you didn't even get to go into even more detail. So if you want to hear more about Joe, go to Thursday Therapy Podcast. Was it 2 weeks ago we had you on the show?
Yes,
it was 2 weeks ago. Just look at all of them, but Joe goes even deeper into his book. And trust me, this is something you want to hear. Tyreese, is there anything you would like to say before?
Actually, I do. I do. I want to thank our guests, Joe and Alicia, for joining us. I'm going to take you out and put you in the green room, and then I'm going to, but I want to thank you all for doing what you do, being obedient, listening to the Spirit, doing what you do. I wish you so much luck on your book, and not just luck and blessings, but both of your books are needed for such a time as this. They are both needed. And I just appreciate you and wish you luck and God's blessings and grace in getting your book and message out there. We need these, not just children. These are good messages for adults. because as we see that there's a lot of people who don't have empathy, and forgiveness is not an easy tool. It is not an easy thing, but we need it as a tool. So I'm going to put you guys in agreement. If you want to just hang out for a second, I'm going to do some facts on gun violence. I want people to know and understand that 71% of Black adults or someone they know or care about has experienced gun violence in their lifetime. 71%. That is a lot. So if you have 9 friends and you're the 10th, that means 7 of those people have experienced someone they know or care about with gun violence. 31% of Black people know or care about someone who is shot and wounded. 1 in 3 Black people know or care about someone who was killed with a gun. 57% of Black survivors experience trauma from the incident. So we don't just, even when someone has not been killed by a gun, we don't look at the numbers for injuries. So the numbers for injuries surpass the number of people who actually die from gun. And today, 120 people die every single day from gun violence. So in a 24-hour period, 120 people die. Many of those people are under 24 years old who are dying from gun violence. We also see, if you watch the news, that many young people, children, are dying from gun violence, being injured by gun violence. And let's not even talk about the trauma of gun violence. So if one person gets killed or injured by a gun, we count that, of course, as one person, but the amount of people that are traumatized by that person getting killed or injured by a gun can be 20 to 50 people that are traumatized, that experience actual trauma. Despite reported high levels of trauma, Black communities reported less access to services. So we know too that mental health services for people who are experiencing trauma are very important, whether it's related to gun violence or not. The reason I wrote my book too is because oftentimes we do not follow up with counseling after the fact for children who've been exposed to, heard about, or know someone who's been shot or killed or injured by a gun. And we really need to do that. We need to denormalize guns in our communities, and that gun violence is become a normal part of our existence. I want to thank everyone again for attending today. If you're watching on a replay, thank you so much. But also, the last thing that I want to say is, if you're interested in volunteering or making a donation to the work that we do with the Ayanna J. McAllister Legacy Foundation, please go to our website. Our website is very simple: www.ayannamcallister.com. And I will actually create a banner for that while Marcy takes us out.
So once again, like you said, we want to thank our authors. We want to thank everybody who engaged with us. We want to thank you for pouring into the future, buying Black books, reading the Black books to our children. And we want to thank you because guess what? You matter. And you are the ones who are going to instill in our children that they matter also.
Thank you again, Marcy. Amazing MC, amazing best friend, and amazing author yourself. Not a children's book author yet, but an amazing author. Thank you so much. And thank you again. Thank you to our board members for all that you do for the foundation. Thank you for our supporters and our donors as well.